Okay, today we're going to talk about the truth between Gibson and Epiphone. All right, right here we have an Epiphone Les Paul Modern Figured 2021, and a Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s, also 2021. And I'm going to tell you the truth about Gibson versus Epiphone. Money. And I know you're sitting here going, of course, money. That's the whole point. No, you're not understanding exactly what I'm trying to say. It's about what kind of person you are, what kind of musician you are, and what you want it for. If you're someone with means and you want a wall piece, you're not going to get a run of the mill Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. You're going to get a custom shop, artist signature, real wow piece. At least an R8 or an R9 or something that people have told you is, one of the greatest guitars ever, and they are great. Say that, but if you're a person with means, that's exactly what you're going to do. You know what I mean? And you want your wall piece and you want your art piece in your story. There's no question. So what I mean by money is what are you going to do with it? If you're trying to buy an Epiphone because you want a Gibson, then that's not the right way to go, because they are not the same, and they are not close. I have both, and I have reasons why I have both. But when it comes to are you going to get out of an Epiphone what you get from a Gibson? Absolutely not. And I don't think that there's any justification to thinking that. I do think Gibsons are worth the money. I do think they're worth the 5 and 10 times the price that sometimes comes up on what they are. Usually 5 times. They're not usually. 10 times you're talking about maybe an Epiphone Dot versus a 335, and that's not even. You're not even anywhere in the same world. But the Gibson is going to feel and sound and play worlds apart from the Epiphone. They just do. I'm a professional musician and collector, and again, I have some of each. I have 3 Epiphones, and I have whatever. I have nine or 10 Gibsons. No, they're not even close. Especially in the pickups. I tried the Epiphone 59 Les Paul with the Gibson pickups in there, and it did not sound like a Gibson. It didn't sound anywhere close to a Gibson, especially when I'm talking especially about standard series Gibsons. Okay, the lower end Gibsons like the Tributes and the Studios and Juniors and everything like that, they are great, and you're gonna get things out of that that you won't get out of the Epiphone, but you're almost starting. You're almost starting to get the debate a little bit closer. They are putting a lot into these Epiphones now that they weren't before, and they are really trying to get you close to a Gibson. But I mean, just between that comparison alone, before the standard series, if you're looking at a Les Paul Studio and you're looking at a high end Epiphone, first off, you're only $500-$600 apart at that point. A Studio is $15.99 or $16.99. I'm sure what they're up to right now. A high end Epiphone Signature, or like the 59, or the Joe Bonamassa Lazarus and things like that. They're putting the work in, but there's still things that you're gonna find. One, they're still not plex frets. They don't do that. They do that for every Gibson. And that's a huge thing. You're gonna find so many Epiphones with high frets and fret buzz. You just will. It's great when you get a great one, and it doesn't have that. This guitar here, my Epiphone Les Paul Modern Figured. One, I bought it for the color because I wanted it, and 2, I was very fortunate. This guitar has no sharp frets, no high frets. It really has a good feel to it, and it really does play well and is worth every penny. And the reason that I have it and use it is for there are certain gigs that I play where, you know, a lot of drunk people, like, I mean, I've been pushed back and fell onto my amp, um, you know, and I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, if something happens to this and if it wears and chips and dings and dents, that's not gonna bother me so much. Versus in that situation where if I had one guitar and the only guitar I had is a Gibson Les Paul Standard, that's a great thing to have. I would love for that to be my problem. I would love for that to be the only guitar I have is a, you know, Gibson Les Paul Standard. That's not a bad problem to have. But what gigs are you using it for? Where are you taking it to? How beat up do you want it to be? Do you want it to get super beat and relic? Did it be the one thing that you just pour every ounce of life into and roadworthy? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's exactly, it circles right back exactly what I'm talking about. Money. What are you going to use it for? What are you going to do with it? I played a lot of different gigs at a lot of different places, and there are plenty of places I play where I can take a very high-end guitar, and I have no worries in the world. Nobody's going to come up and fall on me. Nobody's going to come up and, you know, spit beer at me when they laugh and they tell a joke, and all of a sudden somebody, you know, gets beer in their nose and they spit it at you, and it falls all over your guitar and falls into your amp, and it falls, you know, um, that's uh, that's something that does happen a lot, and a lot of working musicians will tell you that does. So, knowing your crowd, knowing your venue, knowing, you know, what you're gonna play. I usually bring an expensive one and a cheap one, just in case I don't know what's gonna happen. But it really comes down to that. What are you gonna use it for, and why are you using it, and why do you want it? You will not get a Gibson out of an Epiphone because they're not the same. They don't play the same. They don't feel the same. I know I just said that before, but they're absolutely not the same. If it was me, if I am a working musician or just getting started to be a working musician or just getting started in my collecting or wanting something really great, the means are out there now. You know, 48-month finance, $59, $69, $79, $89 a month to get something that you will just treasure and love every time you open it and you smell it. Especially, I love the Gibson smell. I know that's stupid. I think that's a stupid reason to want it, but I do. I love it, and it just reminds me of a very happy place in my life. But absolutely get one. But if you're also someone who just can't justify the money, you know, that's another thing. There are a lot of people out there who just can't understand spending that kind of money on a guitar. I know a lot of people who like to put parts together and build their guitars that way and build their rigs that way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're not the kind of person who wants to spend that kind of money or feels a reason to spend that kind of money. You know, so you know the truth about Gibson versus Epiphone and many other things is just what do you want, why do you want it, and what are you going to do with it? You know. But the big thing is, you will not get Gibson from an Epiphone. You just won't. That's plain and simple. They are trying very hard to give you a great experience, and you are getting a great experience from Epiphone. You really are. But you can't sit here and tell me that the mahoganies are not the same mahogany. There's no way they are. You know, and the work that gets put into them is absolutely not the same. The finish is absolutely not the same. I mean, these are a hard plastic coating. It'll probably take you forever to relic this. You might want to start sandpapering it down. You know, it'll take you forever to relic this on your own. You know, the Gibson, on the other hand, is using the same recipes that they have been using for absolutely ever, and you will get those cool natural things, those cool natural relics. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I bought a $5,000 custom shop Strat because I like the heavy relicking. I didn't do it on my own, and there are some people who think that you're crazy to buy a guitar that's already beat up, but there are some people who also completely love it, and I'm one of the people who love it. I absolutely do. I think it feels so worn and broken in and just the most comfortable thing to put in your hands. They wear it in just the right spots. But anyway, that's a whole different thing. But you can pour your blood, sweat, and tears into this guitar, and you will get the look out of it and the feel of it, and it'll just wear down into who you are so much quicker than the Epiphone will. It'll probably take you 100 years or a million hours of playtime and stage time to get anything like that out of it. But they're both great, and I'm not going to say that they're not. But I 100% prefer the Gibson. I use my Gibsons always. I go to them immediately. For the most part. And I have a lot of other various guitars, but again, I'm not here to compare them. I'm here to compare Epiphone and Gibson. And what do you want it for? That's what you have to ask. That's what you have to ask yourself: is what are you going to do with it? Why do you want it? What are your resources? What are your plans? And that's the real truth between the two of them. I grew up on Gibsons. I mean, Gibsons were so much more, everything was so much more affordable. When I was younger, you could get a custom shop Les Paul for, I think they're $6,000 now. You were at they were like $2,800. They were the price of a standard when I was in my teens. I know that's 20 years ago. I get that. 20 and 25 years ago. I know that the world changes, but still, back then though, you had to have $2,800. Now you can have a decent credit score and hope that you get the limit that you want, and it's $60 a month. I know it's for 4 years, but again, what are your resources? What do you do for a living? Do you do the same thing you've been doing? I've been doing the same thing for 28 years. You know what I mean? It's always going to be there. If I move from job to job to job, it's my industry. I'll never not have work. Just comes back to those points. And again, you will love an Epiphone, especially these newer ones. I have played some older ones too, that were pretty shocking in their own ways. But the pickups were really bad. But the body left you everything there. But the changing out the pickups was necessary. And I don't like to change things on guitars. I'm not a tinkerer person. I get it for what it is, and I want it for what it is. And and these Pro Buckers, I think they are in here, whatever they're called, they're good. They are good. They're a very, very good pickup, and it's a very good guitar. But it's not a Gibson, and it will never be a Gibson. It's the greatest Gibson copy you can buy. When I come home, I never pick up my Epiphone. I never go to them. I'll do them for fun. I did one in my first video, just because I hadn't played it in a while, and I just wanted to, I was doing a cheap guitar and a cheap, amp, and I wanted to showcase that you can really get some great sound out of it. But yeah, I come home when I go, and the first thing I do is I go right to my Gibsons. They fit and feel just so good. And these fret end binding covers, I wish every guitar maker did it. I'm sure it's expensive, or maybe it's patented, or I don't know what it is, but that is my absolute favorite thing. I never worry about fret sprout. I know sometimes you can get it on the side, but it's not the same. It's not the same as running your hand under that sharp fret. I hate that. I hate everything about that. And I hate going in and filing them down. You can be as careful as possible, but you're always going to make mistakes, and you're always going to dig into the wood and have these tool markings all over the place. Most of us are not luthiers. We experiment on cheaper guitars, and we try and get to our better guitars. And as soon as you make that one mark in there, if you're like me, if you like keeping things pristine, if I don't want this filled with beer, and if I don't want this to be relicked on my own by just pouring all my blood, sweat, and tears into it and making it this beautiful masterpiece, I would love to do that, but I can't. I just can't. I personally can't do it. I can't. It's just part of who I am. I like my things neat, pristine, polished, strong, conditioned. That's how I like my instruments. But that's exactly what it comes down to. What do you want to do with it? But they are not the same. And anyone who tells you they're the same, they're not. Um, Not even by a long shot are they the same. So, you know, do the research. If you can go to a guitar store that's near you and you can play both and you can try and get them both in your hands, you're going to go for the Gibson. You're going to go for it every time, assuming you have the resources and means to do so. Okay, so in my opinion, that's the truth about Gibson versus Epiphone.